Hi, Ashley. I wanted to provide some feedback on your paper and in doing so, hopefully allow other people to see how the revision process works and how we should be talking to one another in terms of making these papers better. I wanted to start with the introduction mostly, and my first question has to do with these first two questions that you ask. And I guess the issue that I have here is how about the people who never had an imaginary friend and they answer no in their response. And so maybe when you ask these questions, if there's that possibility for that no, that your best bet is actually to start the essay with this sentence, which is more like a startling statistic rather than questions. The question I have with the this sentence in particular has to do with where the information came from, and especially if you're using numbers like you are in this case, 2 out of 3 children have a make-believe friend. Where did that information come from? Is that research that you read somewhere? And if so, make sure that you cite the source. It's important. It adds to your credibility. Um, in terms of the introduction and the whole essay, um, I wanted to highlight this last sentence in the introduction, which it's not really a thesis statement, or it's not really the main idea of your introduction. And the thesis or the main idea doesn't necessarily have to be at the end of the intro, but in this case, you really throughout the paper, you really don't have a clear main point, and it's evident in this first paragraph. And then as you move through the rest of the essay, for instance, when you get to the second to the last paragraph, you seem to move away from this notion of imaginary friends and children having imaginary friends to the problem that may exist if someone continues to have an imaginary friend, say after age 6. It's related, but it's somehow not quite on target in terms of what you seem to be um, writing about in the first part of the essay. Um, the other thing I wanted to point out was your use of the second person point of view. When you're asking a question, that may work out okay, but when you get again to this second to the last paragraph, you're back with addressing the reader directly with the your. Um, and this is problematic. It's problematic in this sentence in part because you're dealing with a very serious issue, and it seems like you're not taking it too seriously, and then you're addressing the reader directly as you do, which makes the problem even worse. So watch your shifts from first person to second person, meaning from I to you, or from third person, which is what you tend to be doing in most of the essay, to the second person point of view. Besides these sort of like larger issues, again, the sort of the coherence of the paper or the structure of the paper having to do with the thesis, the main point, and the pronouns, the essay needs a lot more editing. So notice, for instance, your title needs to be capitalized. There are lots of comma issues throughout the paper where you're leaving out commas, and just some polish that you need to do to this paper. And I guess besides polish, maybe add a little bit more content to the paragraphs. I think that you can really explore this notion of the imaginary friend, not just from the expression or the manifestation of the imaginary friend, but really the importance of the imagination, and how even though as adults we don't have imaginary friends, the importance of maintaining that childlike quality of being able to imagine and create, which is something that might be very useful for everyone. I hope this is helpful.